Jerome Corsi, I'm here online.
Doctor.
How's everybody?
The doctor is here. Good afternoon.
Good morning, Dr. Corsi. I appreciate you being here.
Well, thank you. It's been quite a day. If everybody's been following.
Boy, do we have some questions for
We'll
you.
limit our questions to 2,000, Dr. Corsi.
Well, I mean, it's going to be let me first post that we're all on the board and everybody can kind of come in and listen. See if we can. I want to post it on Twitter, and I posted on Gab. Okay, so it's been a crazy day today. I mean, I've done a lot of tweets that people are wondering what they're all about on the on Twitter. I probably want to start there, and we also have this new video out from the American Intelligence Network, which is very controversial. So I suspect those are the two things we want to talk about. Is that right?
Yes, and the third thing, your tweet to Trump about getting more aggressive, please, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Your series of tweets.
Let's start probably there. And let me just post this here in the, let's post it here. You probably remember when we had Reince Priebus in the White House as an advisor to I guess chief of staff even for a while to Trump, and I was constantly tweeting. I said I began to remind myself of Cato, in ancient Rome, where every speech he ended was with Carthage must be destroyed, and I was about ending every tweet with Priebus ought to be fired, must be fired, because I felt like Priebus was undermining. I never did trust Priebus, and he was undermining Trump's agenda, arguing that he could get the Obamacare repealed and replaced, which he couldn't do, of course. And Trump had put a lot of capital, a lot of months and time into trusting that Reince Priebus and the GOP establishment could get things done. Well, the tweets I've been doing today, and increasingly, I think I started it probably a little bit last week, come from a similar conclusion that Trump has got now to get moving, that Priebus has stalled. Priebus has not got any information on Russian collusion. I wrote an article today on an InfoWars, which if you saw it, is on Roger Stone, and I talked with Roger at length on this. What has happened is the Daily Beast attacked Roger Stone, saying that they identified Guccifer 2.0 as a Russian agent, and that Stone was in touch with Guccifer 2.0, so therefore Roger was really the deep link everybody was looking for to prove that Trump was in collusion with Russia. Okay, everybody remember all that going on?
Yep.
Yes.
So what my article today is, let me find it here and I'm going to link it in. But my article today is basically that if there's no way that can be true for any number of reasons. First of all, Guccifer 3 did not hack any of the emails. He hacked the files, and it was in a different computer. I did a whole analysis in InfoWars about the different computers that the DNC had and how their system was organized, which took a lot of research to figure out. And Guccifer 2.0 attacked one particular computer system. And that was not the computer system on which the emails resided. And it was clear that that was the case. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I think to anybody who really understood how the Democrats put their system together and had examined the nature of what Guccifer 2 was publishing. Basically, Guccifer 2 published only files hacked from the DNC's, what they call their VAN computer files in Massachusetts, and the NPG files in Washington, which did not contain any emails. Okay, now But the importance of this is that I viewed the last week when you had these articles published. I'll drop here my article on InfoWars. When the Beast was publishing these, it was clear that the conclusion among the hard left was that Mueller had failed. Mueller wasn't going to find anything. And so now all Mueller has to do left is, try to expand his investigation, look at all Trump's business dealings, etc. And the hard left has decided that they're not going to trust Mueller anymore. Mueller, I also published an article about a week ago saying that the best way to get rid of Mueller was to get him and Rosenstein under criminal investigation for the Uranium One deal. And after that, when Trump brought in DeGenova, if you remember, that was kind of the origin of all that. And I can find that article too, in terms of what I'll find that one as well.
Well, then DeGenova didn't stay.
Well, see, the problem with DeGenova was that DeGenova, the Democrats were far too afraid of DeGenova and Townsend. And so they immediately said, well, there's a conflict of interest and DeGenova has to go. Well, for the Republicans, conflicts of interest are taken seriously and they do respect them. But the Democrats don't care. The Democrats have conflicts of interest all day long. It doesn't bother them. But DeGenova didn't stay. But I want you to see the timing on this. I published this article here, and this was on the 22nd. So that was last week. And this was the one about how you get rid of Mueller by putting him under subpoena, criminal subpoena for the Uranium One cover-up. And Rosenstein will go in along with that too. Rosenstein is in the same deal because Rosenstein was also involved in the cover-up. Now, I published that on the 22nd, which was Thursday, which is, again, I think the DeGenova thing was announced Thursday and Friday. And then on Friday, the word started coming out that DeGenova had the conflicts of interest. By Sunday, the Hill reported that DeGenova wasn't going to be working in the White House anymore. But the plan was to basically, because DeGenova's wife, Virginia Townsend, has as her client this William Campbell, who is the whistleblower in the Uranium One deal. Okay, now Trump has been getting advice from his legal counsel that he needs to play along with the Washington group and that the Mueller would be finished by Thanksgiving. Remember, Ty Cobb said that. And Trump has been listening to these counsel. So I've been basically increasingly and kind of ramping up the intensity of my emails to say to Trump, quit listening to these, the guy with the baseball name and the funny baseball player name and the funny mustache. Well, that's Ty Cobb, one of his major lawyers. These guys are just Washington establishments. And like Reince Priebus, they'll just tell Trump what to do so as not to rock the boat in the Washington establishment. And what I'm saying is that this is now the time for Trump to, take off the gloves and duke it out in the back alley with Mueller. And the way to do that is to announce that, as president, one way or the other, that you're concerned about this issue of the Uranium One. You want not only a thorough investigation of Uranium One, you want an investigation of the cover-up of the Russian bribery scheme. And if he has to do a major speech to do that, whatever he has to do, he doesn't have to fire Mueller. But this is the kind of a crisis that you need to create because you're going after getting rid of Rosenstein as well, who's number 2 in the Justice Department. And if Sessions doesn't want to do it, then Sessions ought to resign. And you can have the support of Congress and get Nunes. You'll notice Grassley made a stronger speech, especially Graham came out very strong today. Nunes came out over the weekend, all saying we need a special counselor. Okay, so what I'm saying is you don't wait for the Democrats to come out with another strategy. Now, what are the Democrats going to do? The Democrats have decided that they can't get Trump over Russia collusion. There's nothing there. They can't get Trump. In fact, they made a mistake going down this path. This is a Hillary path. And they realize they trapped themselves because now the country is realizing, and that's why I, wrote this book on the killing of the deep state, was in order to intensify discussion of a coup d'etat. And I've really tried to put on the table in all my interviews on this book that, the book will shock you because when you read Killing the Deep State, you'll see that there was a coup d'etat plan to remove Trump from office that is still going on. Okay, and that put that whole argument on the table. And now the Democrats realize that the country's waking up to this and getting ready to have a special prosecutor that will seriously investigate the Democrats all the way up to Hillary, Valerie Jarrett, the whole bunch of them, including Obama, for treason. Now, the Democrats are not unaware of this, and what they've done behind the scenes, you saw the first indication of it last night. Indication last night that was, with the porn queen, who, by the way, looked drugged up with her dilated pupils and, over the hill for sure. Nobody cares about whether Trump had an affair with the porn queen. Trump didn't get elected because he was a saint. That issue didn't get Trump during the election, and it won't get him now. The issue they're going after is Mike Cohen and the payment that was made to her, and whether they can get Cohen and Trump under investigation for violation of Federal Election Commission rules on campaign payments, the same way they came after John Edwards. And now that's a different kind of threat. That's a very technical legal threat that involves federal campaign election law. And by the way, Edwards walked on that charge. They didn't convict Edwards on that charge. The other thing that's going on is Schneiderman, who is the attorney for the state of New York, a Democrat, very political guy. The Democrats have also decided that Schneiderman, in reviewing Trump's past history of financial dealings, can come up with some basis on which a grand jury could call an indictment of Trump. So what Trump's got to understand right now is that there's a little bit of a game of chicken going on here, and that is whose grand jury is going to target who first as a potential criminal for investigation. And all you have to do is have a subpoena from a grand jury to either Mueller, Rosenstein, or to Trump, and it'll be a game changer, which you will not be able to ignore, because you really can't ignore the subpoena from a grand jury. Now, at the presidential level, there may be some things they can do to counter that. But with the mainstream media is clearly on the side of the Democrats, this is a perceived threat. And I want to get Trump kicked hard. And, if he listens to me, and he has listened to me in the past, I'm not doing this because I want to sell a book or that I'm mad that he's touting Howie Carr's book. And I couldn't care what book Trump touts. Just like when I wrote Unfit for Command, or none of these did I do as a money-making operation. It wasn't, you never know when to write a book if you're going to make any money at all. They're done to create a movement. They were done to create a whole involvement of a larger number of people. As I say, you can't have a book without a movement. That was one of the things I commented the other day that Edward Bernays taught me. And his proof of it was, he'd say, where would Jesus Christ have been without the Bible? Now, I didn't write a book that's the Bible, but the principle applies, and that is that people need a book in order to get their minds around a movement proposition. And Unfit for Command or The Abomination or this book, Killing the Deep State, I wrote every one of those to create a movement. That's my whole goal. And I think to a large extent we've succeeded. Now, but the point is, the game has shifted. And Trump's got to figure this out quick, because the Democrats have abandoned Mueller. They really don't care if Mueller is fired or whatever. They'll make a big stink about it, try to make that obstruction. But they don't care in the sense that they know it's not going to produce an impeachment. What they now think is that either over, some of the payments made in this porn queen deal by Michael Cohen, and they may have been done in such a way that the most Trump will be able to be found here is a technical violation. But if Schneiderman has actively been combing through Trump's decades of New York business history, he may have come up with something he thinks, and I'm basically told that he has, and that's really the threat that needs to be taken seriously. But it's a different strategy now, a different game. So I've been trying all day today to make sure I got Trump kind of jolted into a recognition that this is the case. The game has changed, and his strategy needs to change in accordance with that. Now, let me see if the live chat is saying over here if there's anything that we need to comment on. Anybody in the live chat that are people following and tracking?
Yes, I am. They're asking if you heard about possibility of Kim Jong-un being in China today.
I think it's likely. I think it's very likely. Basically, Kim Jong-un has been convinced that he needs to come to terms. And he needs to come to terms quickly. And I think he's negotiating now with China in preparation of negotiating with Trump. And China, I believe, will back Trump's move to get a settlement without a war. This is, I think, both China and the United States want to. And by the way, you'll notice the stock market is up today despite the Trump declaring that he's going to go to impose sanctions, economic sanctions, or tariffs as they were on China. But back channel, what Trump has told China is that we have whatever our size of our trade imbalance with China, it's unacceptable, and he wants it reduced. So the nature of this trade war is to reduce the imbalance, and China understands that, as much as they've enjoyed this trade balance, they can't keep doing it forever. So I don't think there's going to be a massive trade war. I think Trump is going to get a rearrangement of some of the Chinese economy. I think the Chinese will also work with us on North Korea. Now, somebody's pointing out here that Sessions brought in an outside prosecutor working with the Inspector General. We've known for some time that Sessions had an outside prosecutor. That didn't have to come from Dilley or anybody else. It was Sessions himself announced it. And the limitations of that special counsel have been that outside prosecutor and the Inspector General have been what Lindsey Graham has been addressing, and that is they have limited powers to investigate people who are in the Department of Justice or the FBI. They don't have the power to do broad investigations of people who have left the FBI or the Department of Justice, which a special prosecutor would have. People are saying over here in the live chat that China is supposed to come to the table before this, or China's talked about coming to the table, but not with somebody in the White House like Trump, who has already made it clear that he's going to impose some sanctions. Okay, so essentially, I do think that that Kim Jong-un is in China, and I think it's part of this entire mission. If if Trump can stop Mueller, if Trump can get rid of the special counselor and say, turn and now begin the counterattack, what I've called the counterattack, which is to say we're going to have a special counsel and we're going to investigate the Democrats. There's a momentum now to do that between Lindsey Graham, Grassley, Nunes, Goodlatte. All these are heads of committees that are pressing for this. And so the reason for my intensity of the tweets today is I know when I do that, it's so, out of character that Trump will pay attention to it. That, I made a couple of calls to see if the tweets could be put on Trump's desk if he hadn't seen them, so he sees them this afternoon. And that'll probably happen. And I think Trump will begin to put the pieces together pretty quickly. Joe DeGenova and Victoria Townsend might not have been hired, but it doesn't mean that this strategy wasn't discussed. And it's a strategy which I've, discussed with, I've been suggesting this strategy for months and wrote about it in the book. So it's something that people like Roger Stone know I've been talking about since about January, when I first kind of figured out how to fire Mueller without firing him, which is what you've got to do. You can't fire him, but you can put him under a criminal investigation where he's going to have to resign once he gets a subpoena from a grand jury.
Well, sorry, Doctor, go ahead.
Now, to a large extent, Trump's already figured this out. Trump's a brilliant guy. He's a genius. He's figured this out. But sometimes in the White House, what happens, and it's happened to Trump before, is he gets so many contradictory pieces of advice. Not everybody in the White House is really working for Trump. A lot of them still hate Trump, and they're still there. You saw that last week in the leak of the transcript of his phone call, one of the phone calls which was leaked last week, which was very embarrassing. But I mean, it's internally leaking still within the White House. Trump does not have control of the White House staff. Now, a lot of this is also going on at the same time Trump is engineering the attack on Zuckerberg, and we're doing everything we can to make everybody understand that all these social media are just fronts for the NSA and the CIA. And that has in the background that it will be affirmed by Assange and by Snowden once they surface, as well as by Dennis Montgomery and many others. Now, all of this, I think, makes it clear that, what is Trump going to do? Trump is, I think, going to think it through and sort it through and understand. I think he'll take it seriously that, I'm not upset about this just for the sake of getting upset. This is serious, and this is a new level of the coup d'etat to remove him from power. And you can see how basically this has all been prompted. And also, by the way, I think someone's tweeting the FTC today opened an investigation into Twitter and the others. And I've been pushing for that to go back, I've been pushing for that since I opposed the net neutrality, my articles of net neutrality. I've been saying that the FTC was the place to regulate the internet. Let's just see if that's the case.
So, Doctor, if I could summarize, do you think Trump's play is to get the Mueller investigation over as soon as possible, because the longer he waits, the more leverage the Dems will have?
Yes, the more leverage they're going to have. And they'll keep Mueller there. Mueller will never leave. Mueller will stay there 8 years if Trump's in for 8 years. Can always investigate something. He has an unlimited mandate. And Rosenstein wrote that mandate. And if Trump can figure out that this is a plot and this is a basic, 1-2 play from two guys who have been working, Rosenstein and Mueller, but working together a long time for Clinton and deep state cover-ups, Trump's going to see the game. Now, once he sees the game, just like this FTC thing, I wasn't pushing the FTC thing just for the sake of pushing it. I knew Trump wanted the Internet Bill of Rights, and I knew he wanted the FTC to regulate, and I knew he had decided we were going to regulate all these companies. And, then they canceled my YouTube account, and I went after them hard, and they restored my YouTube account. They went after Alex Jones, and then they restored Alex Jones. At least they didn't take it away. And these are not coincidental issues, so today, yes, the FTC did an open investigation into, and you've all been watching, I've been publishing this picture of Obama meeting, with all the Silicon Valley godfathers, and today I showed you that it was in 2011, and I asked last week, what are they toasting? They were toasting they were going to be able to give Obama all the data he needed for his reelection.
Wow.
And it was going to be coordinated through the intelligence agencies. Now, if that doesn't shock people, I don't know what will, because that, maybe we become so numb to these things, but I don't see it in the mandate of any of the intelligence agencies that their role is to play favorites in political elections and to manipulate data so one candidate wins and another doesn't. Fortunately, Trump didn't need data, didn't use data, didn't use Cambridge Analytics. Cambridge Analytics data was old-style psychographic anyway. Jack Kennedy was using psychographic data. Barack Obama was way beyond. Barack Obama was into microdata, micro-targeting, much more effective than psychographic. Micro-targeting, you can tell what a person's going to do tomorrow. It doesn't make any difference what their psychographic characteristics are, because it's like the weather. What's the weather going to be like tomorrow? Well, the best prediction what the weather's going to be tomorrow is what it was today, because it's going to be varying from today, but it's still going to have a lot of characteristics in common with today. And the changes are going to be, so you can basically, micro-targeting data is a much more effective technique. Now, what I was showing you with all that was that these were the bases for, and now I'm trying to make sure that the American public understands that from the beginning, Silicon Valley was funded by the military-industrial complex. Lockheed Martin came out there with the initial money, and others. They hired these investment bankers. Larry Ellison's probably the godfather. And these moguls in Silicon Valley investment companies were picking investments to make in companies like Google or Facebook that the CIA had already picked out as their favorites. And the whole thing was a CIA game from the beginning. These were just front companies for what the CIA had wanted to accomplish, but couldn't accomplish without violating all the laws. So they created all these social media companies, stole the patents on which they needed to have in order to do the social media companies, and then had them financed and interfaced with the CIA to begin with. So we've all just been supplying the CIA and NSA with all of the information about ourselves that's fed right into those databases. Okay, so that's all been going on. And does that help explain some of the intensity of what I've been texting today?
Yes, sir.
Anybody want to have any questions they want to ask about it? You can ask anything you want to. It's okay with me. Let's see if there's any good questions over here. I mean, yes, they did. The FTC opened the investigation today. Yeah, I'm really not asking Trump to endorse anything or even to comment on anything. I want him to understand that this game has changed, and that, there's things going on in New York and behind the scenes. He's not here right now. And they just crippled Michael Cohen. Well, they took Michael Cohen out for a good reason. He's what Trump has relied on to protect him in New York business circles. And Schneiderman.
Doctor, did you see the post by Facebook COO Sheryl Sandberg welcoming Regulations Friday? I think they're running a little bit scared.
Well, Facebook is probably going to be broken up. Facebook is probably, they threw Facebook to the dogs because Facebook wasn't that popular anyway. Facebook had already, it's the first generation one of those things, and the younger generations find Facebook to be already old-fashioned. And they're not really as interested in it as they used to be. Facebook's are largely out of style and being more used by older people. And that's not where the market is. That's not where the money is. So Facebook is probably, Zuckerberg probably just got to notice and say, we'll let you put a few billion away, but you might as well sit down and have a drink because you're going to lose all the other billions. The company's going to go and you're not going to be CEO for very long. But don't let it bother you. We'll let you watch your movie all the time and as many times as you want. We'll replay it for you all day long, your movie. About how you invented this famous thing when you were at Harvard.
Dr. Corsi, it looks like everybody in the YouTube live chat is really freaking out about this AIM video on Q being a sign-off.
Okay, let's talk about this.
So if you want to get into that, that'd be great.
Okay, now, first of all, I've liked the American intelligence media.
Yeah.
And they've generally done some very good work. Okay, now on this Q thing, they couldn't be more wrong. And it's, as I say, the game has changed. So plan number A is, they've abandoned Mueller, but they want to keep Mueller as long as they can. It's going to be now a legal game played out largely in New York to get state legal charges against Trump, not federal, state, and then maybe federal on federal election law violation. And so Trump's going to have to hire a bunch of New York lawyers, and Michael Cohen's going to have to hire a bunch of New York lawyers, and Cohen's interests may not be identical to Trump's, so Cohen may now have his own conflict of interest to be represented by the same lawyers who are representing Trump. They've already started the divide and conquer rule, and they think they can get Trump. Schneiderman thinks he can take Trump down. So the new Mueller is called Schneiderman. And everybody better investigate Schneiderman because he's also not exactly Mr. Clean. Now, all this talk today about there's 3 Qs and Q squared and all this nonsense. Before I started decoding Q, I largely found out who Q was. Okay, I got invited to do this. So I started looking at it. Q mentioned the title of a couple of my books, and I started to say, okay, who is this Q? Okay, and so I figured it out. I basically got it down and got it validated. Now, Q has never changed from the beginning. Q is the same Q we've had from the very beginning. And if anybody has any questions about this, they can ask Code Monkey. Because Code Monkey and also Pamphlet can validate his pamphlets on the line. Pamphlet, are you there?
No, that's actually me. I'm using his thing. He's on his way back from the DMV. He should be here any minute now. He should be.
Well, you can probably validate it for him. I mean, the two of you.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the two of you guys, I doubt have secrets from each other.
Right. And Code Monkey has verified with us that it's the same cube. It's the same person posting that the trip codes. Code Monkey is verified.
Yeah. See, this is where whomever's representing themselves as this NSA expert over in the American Intelligence Network or whatever they call it, is not credible because the way 8chan works and Pamphlet and you guys can validate it, but Code Monkey would validate it for sure, is that there's a certain structure to the bulletin board that doesn't even look like, I mean, it's very deep internet. And to access it, you have to have certain permissions. And the person who creates the 8chan, who's the Code Monkey, is in charge of all the way that it works, operates, functions. and including the ability to establish these trip codes, which are the signature you've got to come in through. But in addition to the trip code, you've also got the IP from the devices you're using. Okay, so this today. So, you know, Code Monkey can tell for sure, and I'll validate for sure, the person posing as Q has never changed. Okay, now, yes.
Q actually alluded to this on January 8th, Q post 513, if you want me to read that.
Yes, please.
This is from January 8th, Q post 513. Capital, important, capital, no private comms, past, present, future, no comms made outside of this platform. Any claims that contradict the above should be considered fake news and disregarded immediately. All capital, where we go one, we go all. Patriots, Q.
Okay, now I'll also validate I have never communicated with Q. I've never attempted to, and I never wanted to. And Q has never communicated with me. And likewise, I don't want to, and I haven't sought it. Not necessary. Q knows who I am, and, you know, I have a pretty good idea. I know who he is, but that doesn't mean we have to communicate. The way we can communicate is through the posts that Q makes. Now, sometimes I get a little bit, you know, irritated with Q because I'd like him to be a little more direct and to post a little bit more frequently. But that's only my personal frustration that I want to know more and I want it to be easier to figure out. And I'd like it to be constant, you know, so that we have a continual update on what's going on. Well, that may not be the strategy or the interest or even the possibility with Trump. I mean, Trump's a pretty busy guy, and Q doesn't necessarily always get the time needed day to day in order to coordinate what's going to be communicated and what's not going to be communicated. And we've been through a particularly very difficult and busy time with this omnibus bill, which I think, you know, Trump managed, I think, brilliantly and took up a lot of his time and a lot of his energy. At the same time, you've got North Korea and everything else going on. But the most recent time Q mentioned my book was 953, where he had in the middle of it, America for Sale.
Hey, Dr. C?
Yes.
May I ask I guess a larger question, not related to the Q personality, but the 30,000-foot view. So thinking about the fact that the deep state has basically re-engineered these social activities and just get us to volunteer to give away our information. Do you believe that the internet was released on purpose as a voluntary mechanism for people to give up their information, or was the internet ever freely given?
The internet was invented accidentally. There's 2 or 3 geniuses who were behind the internet, and they were solving problems that were, you know, very advanced kinds of computer science problems. One of them realized that the computers could talk to each other, and that you could address the IP addresses, and that they would figure out a way through all these web of connections to connect. I mean, it was a very, very brilliant recognition. Another couple others figured the logical structure of the internet and filed patents on, you know, how social engineering or how social media platforms would work and how you would coordinate these communications. Things today that look to us obvious because we do them every day long. I mean, these were like a couple of Teslas of the internet. And they really had no idea or no full understanding of where it was going to go. They certainly weren't intelligence guys. And largely their inventions got stolen from them as soon as the intelligence community realized what they had. And there were conscious efforts made to steal this stuff from them. And the patents were stolen. I'm probably at 4 o'clock here. I have a radio show, and they're probably going to call me for it. And I'm still doing the publicity on the book. So the phone rings. I'll probably have to end this. But the point is, what has happened is that in the hands of the CIA and the NSA and the intelligence agencies entering into it, getting control of Silicon Valley and funding the entrepreneurs who developed the internet, and that was not Eric Schmidt, but it was others who are, were in Google. Didn't start out to be Google, and these other companies were also equally built by the CIA, who wanted these social functionalities to be able to map the population. So what the internet is today reflects more of a intelligence agency collection data. Hold on a second. Yeah. Jerome Corsi? I'm doing good, Mike. Are you ready to go? 2 seconds. Let me put the phone down. I'll be right back. Is that okay? Okay, give me just a minute.
Hey there, Doc. How you doing?
Okay, I'll come back right after this, okay? I've got to check off now.
Thank you, Dr. Corsi.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Doctor.
Right back.
We'll go have dinner together. Let's have a beer summit like Obama used to in the backyard. But it's just not going to happen because no attorney is going to let him do it. And so I think basically Trump needs to take a series of moves here that turn the tables and let the Democrats know Mueller game's over. We'll shut this down. I'm not going to fire anybody. Just put them under criminal investigation. And then from there on, we'll appoint our own special counsel and we'll go after everybody we want to go after, including Hillary and Obama. Now you've got a different game. You don't have, that's what I'm talking about in terms of a different attitude, of like duking it out. You don't want to, how you win a fist fight? Be the first one to grab a board and hit the other guy over the head before he's ready to fight. That's how you win a fist fight.
Do the first punch and make it a good one.
Yeah, well, actually, the best way to win it is to take the first punch and just, way in air combat. There's a guy named Bohr wrote a great book on air. He figured out the tactics of modern air combat and designed a lot of the current jets we've got. And Boyd said, the way you win a dogfight in a fighter jet is you dive out of the sun and kill the other guy before he even knows you're around. You don't wait for him to dive out of the sun. War is not fair fighting. War is you kill the other guy.
Hoorah.
Yeah, I mean, you don't train Marines to, negotiate and reach across the other side and have a picnic. Teach them, kill them before they can kill you. And the only way to win a war is with massive, overwhelming fire superiority at the point of conflict. Any Marines on here listening? That's how you win a battle. You win a battle, massive fire superiority. I say to Trump frequently. I've been saying to him. I said to him, presidency's got enormous powers. If you're not going to use them, you mind if we the people borrow them for a few hours? I'll be happy to use them on your behalf. Q said, trust the plan. And, yeah, I trust the plan fine, but every now and then you might have to kick the plan in the rear end. You wait for the plan to unfold. I don't want to be falling asleep like a game of cribbage. I'll be saying, can't we get rid of this and play 5-card stud? Jacks are better. Never did like cribbage. Never learned how to play bridge. And, you know, these are the same thing. I'll follow the plan, but, you know, the plan better get on board because pretty soon the train's leaving the station.
And I think your advice is urgent because of the simple fact that the seat's going to be gained in the next primary is inevitable. And, you know, they're going to call for impeachment regardless, Doctor.
If they if they manage to win control of the House, there will be impeachment hearings. You can count on it. Yeah, Patton understood war. He said, you know, let the other poor bastard die for his country.
That's right.
When he gave his blood and guts speech, he said, you know, every true American loves a fist fight. No true American's, you know, afraid of fighting. That was a great speech. And, you know, the George what's his name? The movie done on Patton that was done by George
C. Scott.
Yeah, George C. Scott. That was a very, very good, a very, very good representation of Patton.
Someone on YouTube is asking about Bolton coming in. It will hurt Trump's relationship with Mattis. I think that's what they're asking.
I don't think so. I think Mattis is there for a different mission. Bolton can be a little bit abrasive. I mean, not everybody's going to like Bolton. But, you know, the White House isn't about liking everybody. Mattis is there because Trump needs the Marines. The president can order the Marines directly. You know, the Marines are the president's. It's just like military intelligence. After Reynolds v. U.S., military intelligence trumps all other intelligence. Military intelligence is built into the fabric of the NSA. It's there by design. And it's Army military intelligence. Army military intelligence and the Marines as your fighting force are tough to beat. Army military intelligence is the best. And that's what Q is. That's what Q is. Q's affirmed that. Go look at the post. Just search military intelligence. After I raised this issue, Q has gone on about military intelligence several times. You know, I mean, Mattis is there. Mattis is there to make sure the Marines get the funding. They get the rebuilt. You know, they have what they need to be. That's his legacy. His legacy is his legacy is to build back the Marine Corps, and he'll do it. He knows how, and he'll be happy to do it. And a bunch of generals would be happy to assist him.
Well, I certainly like that Trump paraded him out in front of the press, you know, thanking him for the $700 or so billion that we gave the military.
Yeah, I think it was actually $800 billion. I think that's finally the number I kind of settled on. And then there's money in there for the Corps of Engineers that I think they can use to build the wall. And yeah, Patton said we're going to keep. Well, Patton said, you know, we're going to attack. We're going to attack. That's right. We're going to attack at night. We're going to attack in the morning. Attack, you know, all around the clock. I mean, Patton understood war. And, you know, war is not fair. You don't want war to be fair. You want to kill the enemy. And
don't you think that's what Trump is trying to do, is also remove some of these policies that Obama put in, you know, the LGBT?
He is, but right at the moment, Trump has been taking too much advice from his Washington lawyers, and I've been urging him to get rid of them all, fire them all, get Joe DeGenova and people like Joe DeGenova in there. You know, who would I put in charge of the FBI and CIA, or the FBI? Tom Fitton. Tom Fitton run the FBI. I don't think anybody have to worry about anything with Tom Fitton there.
He's pretty sharp.
Tom Fitton go around and collect all the stuff you couldn't get before. send it over to Chris Farrell and let him publish it. Judicial Watch. I don't see anything wrong with that. Yeah, this is phase two. This is phase two, and there'll be a phase three. You know, there's always an end game. There's always an end game, and people are saying Q2 is fake. I take on AIM in live chat.
Q squared, I think, has been proven to be a troll.
You know, I mean, I don't know who Q. It's like this Dilly Dally and whatever Dilly's name is. I don't pay much attention to any of them. Q is legit, and it follows that it's legit. I do sometimes lose patience with Q. I mean, I am not one to want to sit around until Pearl Harbor happens. You know, and I don't want Trump to be taking advice that he can play nice patty cake, and everybody will go away. These people out to kill him. They want his blood. They're dead.
Literally kill him.
That's not figuratively.
So he better take that seriously. Better slap himself in the mirror a couple times and realize this isn't the reality TV. This isn't The Apprentice. If there's any doubt about it, I've got a nice book on Lincoln I'd like to send him to read, or Jack Kennedy.
The outright threats, you know, from last weekend, Papa Joe Biden was one of them, congressman in Texas, you know, basically saying use the Second Amendment against Trump. That's a threat. Right, exactly. And you know, our Secret Service does nothing about it. I would get much more Marine Corps involvement and get on with it. You know, he's going to have to take some strong steps here to get rid of Mueller. And what I'm proposing is a way to get rid of Mueller without firing him. You know, I think he can basically take a look at some of the intel I've operated with. I mean, I've made it clear since the beginning with net neutrality that wasn't going to fly. That Agent Pi was going to get rid of it. That Twitter was going to be targeted. Facebook, especially after Eric Schmidt did what he did with canceling my account, I went after him. We started going on the CIA theme. I started talking about the FTC regulating. They decided today to regulate, and we argued. I even argued with a bunch of you on this board about we needed to support the Internet Bill of Rights, and Obama did everything he could to get the FCC regulating Internet, where they could have the content providers all censor to their heart's delight. And that was the whole structure of Title II of the Telecommunications Act. But it's a technical issue, and it was tough to get everybody to understand. Okay, I think, let's see, anything else over here? I think I've about covered the AIM and the other people going on about me. I couldn't really care less about. I'll be happy to take them on if they want to do it on. I mean, they're trying to say there's differences in style between what Q said here or what he said there. That's all just nonsense, I think. Q's been pretty consistent all the way through the way he's expressed things. The boom, boom, boom. I think it's hard. Sometimes you're in the middle of it. You don't realize it's happening, but I want to see what Trump does tomorrow with some of these issues in terms of today. I guess I don't think he did very much today at all. He had lunch with Pence. Well, that was about something. They got some strategy coming down the pike pretty quickly.
Dr. Corsi, I have a question for you.
Yes.
So Q said March Madness at least once. If the month ended today, would you say that we've had March Madness, or would you say that we should see a little something more, to make that a legit statement?
Oh, I think we've seen lots of March Madness. I mean, we've seen, the porn queen now has been rolled out. She looked to me like she had been stuffed in formaldehyde for a few years, and she was ready to be rolled out before she passed entirely. Had to be drugged. I mean, she looked terrible to me. I mean, that's one of the other things, but it was kind of hard to believe is why Trump would be attracted to this woman.
Yeah, her eyeballs screamed uppers.
Yeah, I mean, her pupils were about diluted out to the edge of her eyes. I mean, it was unbelievable how wide her. Just go look at the video.
Under studio lights too.
Yeah, under studio lights. And of course, to have what's his name, Cooper, interviewing her. I mean, the whole thing was a joke. I thought to myself, Edward R. Murrow would be ashamed of these people. This is what 60 Minutes has become. They're rolling out an aging prostitute to go after Trump on an affair that happened 12 years ago. I mean,
or
give me a
didn't
break.
Happen.
Or didn't. Well, I don't doubt that Trump is, Trump lived the New York life. He was celebrity. He's had, how many marriages has he had? Trump is not, he didn't get elected because he was a saint. That's not the point. But it's, what you're seeing, I mean, look at some of the Q post-March. 960, panic mode. They're in panic mode right now. That's all they got. It's this aging, they're down to the aging prostitute routine. Russian collusion failed. They indicted 12 wacky Russians who will not come back and face trial. Department of Justice said these wacky Russians posted on Twitter and the like. They were retweeted 157,000 times. Well, I mean, that sounds pathetic. I mean, what's 157,000 times? That's all they were. If that's all they were retweeted, I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, let me just look here for a minute. I'll tell you. Hold on. Let's see what the statistics are. Yeah. I've had 874,000 impressions, retweets, etc. over the last 24 hours. 874,000.
And there you go.
They said these Russians had 175 retweets. These are the guys we've indicted for, trying to violate our election.
You guys aren't even good amateurs.
Yeah, when Obama went hired a group of operatives to go over to Israel and try to defeat Netanyahu, and shows up in England and gives a speech and says, don't get out of the EU. I mean, how many things did Obama try to interfere in? Tried to interfere in Egypt, funded El-Sisi, funded Morsi, wouldn't fund El-Sisi, pulled the money out as soon as El-Sisi started prosecuting the Muslim Brotherhood. I guess.
Lovely job on Libya.
Yeah, I mean, so the whole thing is, if that's the only thing that Mueller's got, he's a joke. It's a joke. It's pathetic. And the Democrats know it. So now they're scrambling around, trying to figure out in panic, can't we find a prostitute around here that Donald Trump slept with? Maybe somebody paid her money. Can't we find out something like that? Or how about one of his business deals? Maybe Schneiderman. What's wrong? Indict him for something, Schneiderman. Whatever. Just get him indicted. So that's their next.
Such dirty tricks.
That's their next ploy. That's where they're down to. And in the meantime, what Q told us about all these social media, and that goes back to earlier in March too, when he was. Let me find those.
He did say they would collapse under the weight of their own illegal activity, or at least some of them would. and now Facebook's falling down hard. So there you go.
And collapsing.
Facebook is looking at least 40 times their actual worth in fines.
And it's not clear that, that Zuckerberg's going to come out with any value at all. It looked like they're going to be broken up. Now the FTC started an investigation. That's all. I'm going to find the Q post on that.
He sold almost $2.7 billion worth of his stock in the past couple of years.
Yeah, look at the March 15th. No, let's see where, let's find a different one there. Yeah, this is what I was looking for. This is March 9th. It's number 897. It says 100% regulated. Some platforms will collapse under the own weight of illegal activities, Q. Track inside sales divestitures. They know. Watch the sell-off liquidity events. Well, Zuckerberg sold a lot of stock before this thing hit.
I put a link in the Discord chat, Dr. Corsi. It's a little graph on Mark Zuckerberg's sell-off.
Let me take a look at that.
Yeah, the link didn't show up.
I don't see it yet.
No link in Discord.
Sorry about that. I put it in the wrong room. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, this is what this New York Times article here about Schneiderman, the 100th legal action against, Schneiderman is trying to make a name for himself. He wants to be a big deal. Schneiderman's got some skeletons in his closet. He's a Democrat.
I put that link in there for you, Dr. Corsi.
Yeah, his lawyers have challenged Trump's first, second, third travel bans, sued him over rollback and birth control coverage. They've sued Trump overall. Now he's going to try to investigate Trump for some kind of criminal activity of his businesses and see if he can bring a state indictment against Trump, make Trump come back and defend a state criminal case.
Sounds like Elliot Spitzer 2.0.
Might end up that way too. If it were me, I'd have him thinking about why you wanted to invest. You've got to be. I've also told Trump, Harry Truman's advice, and that is, if you want a friend in Washington, buy a dog. They all hate you. And Lyndon Johnson's famous statement about, he didn't care if anyone liked him, he wanted them all to fear him. That goes back a long ways. Okay, let's see. Okay, but the same point is they've blocked a lot of conservatives and a lot of, I might have gotten my account on YouTube back, and Alex may have, gotten his back, but I came out of them hard, and they had to think about whether they really wanted to take me on. And Trump better do the same. Better come at these Democrats hard, and they better let them all think if they want to be targeted by him. Because they're probably, in this bureaucracy, in the State Department, the Justice Department, FBI, IRS, CIA, intelligence agencies in general, probably 50, 60,000 people you could indict if you wanted to. And I might be inclined. I might want to indict their dogs, their cats. I want to indict their field mice. Burn their houses down and get rid of the fleas.
There you go.
That'd take care of the problem. And unfortunately, if you don't think like that, you're not going to win this game in Washington, because that's how it's going to be played. I mean, Casablanca's playing chess with Marshall. Marshall tries this, tutti frutti little black attack. Usually, black doesn't do the first attack, as it doesn't have the first move. But puts both pawns out, king and queen pawn. Man's two spaces sitting out in the middle of the board. And real cute. Take a look at that and say, well, have fun with this guy. What's he got in mind? And then Casablanca figures it out. Well, Casablanca figured it out, parried it off. Next thing you want to do is, an attack in chess is kill. Corner and kill. That's how chess is played. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to checkmate you so soon. That's why chess is ultimately uninteresting, because the level of play, you can beat less skilled players who don't see it quite as well very quickly. They always have, these chess masters who can play 10 games against 10 people. It really isn't that hard, because 9 of the games are so stupid you don't have to think about them to win. The other one, you might have to think a couple of moves because they don't know what they're doing. They make such ridiculous moves that, you don't have to really think about those games.
Makes for great theater.
Makes for great theater. Okay, so, that's kind of the mood I've been in all day today. And if AIM wants to take me on, I'm still not tired. I still wouldn't mind going 10 rounds.
I don't see any takers. I wouldn't challenge you, Doctor.
With or without gloves, I couldn't give a damn.
Finally, Doctor, do you have any intel on the Russian fire in Serbia yesterday?
No, I don't. That was not on my radar yesterday. I was more worried yesterday about what was developing. I saw Geneva was being blocked. This woman was going to be on 60 Minutes. They hyped that all day. The Duke game was kind of interesting. The other one was boring. I bet that kid who missed that shot for Duke I bet that wrecked his life. He'll be thinking about that 4 years from now.
Slow-moed it. It hit the rim 5 different times and didn't go in.
Kid, I looked at that kid and I said, you poor SOB, you just wrecked your whole life.
Well, Q said trust Kansas, so my money was on Kansas.
Yeah, well, he did say trust Kansas, didn't he?
So what's your read on the supposed 60 Russians ejected from the United States and the closing of the Seattle embassy?
Well, it's okay with me if he did that. He wants to please Great Britain and all the rest. But I'm getting tired of this Russian bashing. And, I'm beginning to feel the same way I did when Jack Kennedy was in power. It was all this Russia bashing. Finally, we got, Jack to understand, quit listening to these, between the intelligence agencies, CIA and the military, they were dead set to go to war, nuclear war with Khrushchev. And Khrushchev's military and intelligence were dead set to go nuclear war with us. Nuclear war is always about having the first strike advantage. That's all they've ever played. And finally, after Kennedy had been lied to for 3 or 4 days, we got to him. Enough people got to him around, the people I was being raised by and the others who said to him, Jack, you got this little teletype over here. Why don't you directly communicate a message to Khrushchev? They typed up one. They basically said to Khrushchev, do you want to go to thermonuclear war? We don't. But, if you want to, okay. And Khrushchev wrote back one, said, I don't think it's a good idea we go to thermonuclear war. Then about 60 minutes later, they got another one from Khrushchev saying, we really are, we kind of like thermonuclear war. And so Kennedy debated what they should do about that. And they said, why don't we just decide we didn't get the second message? So they ignored the second message and they started negotiating with Khrushchev on the basis of the first message.
And that's when they put the red line to Moscow, right?
Pretty much. I mean, it was Jack Kennedy's American University speech, which I've always thought was part of what got him killed. Was he basically said we need to reach out to Russia, and we need to basically, they're like us, the same as we are. We need to come to terms where we can coexist. I think if Trump and Putin got together where they weren't involved with this stupid democratic Russia baiting, I think, Hillary wanted to go to war. I think the global elite wanted a war. I think Q was right. They wanted a war so that they could reduce the population by about a fourth. I think Trump and Putin could understand each other and could work things out, could begin saying, how are we going to coexist? Well, we're going to coexist by understanding that Russia's got certain national interests, and there's certain aspects of what Russia wants in their sphere of influence and in their desire to, control certain economic success. Russia is basically, like someone said, a gas station posing as a country.
That's right.
And say, basically, what do you guys need over here in Russia? What can we do to, give you what you want? Here's what we need. And I think the same's got to be done with China. I'd say to China, basically, I'd sit down with China and say, look, we're not going to go to war over the South China Sea. Said, I think you guys taking it over is probably a bad idea. We're not real happy about it. I think, the North Vietnamese and the Japanese may have something to say about it, but if you ask me, we're not going to go to war over that. So if you just think I told you to go ahead and do it, well, I didn't quite say that, but I told you I wasn't going to stop you. Now, when it comes to Japan or North Korea, then we're going to stop them from having nuclear weapons. Do you want to go to nuclear war over that? Because I'm willing. And, that's basically on the basis of those kinds of discussions, you can figure out how to coexist. And Trump, I think, is capable of that and will get there. But he's not going to get there until he gets past this problem that they hate him so much, they want to impeach him or kill him. And I think rather than we, getting divided about us arguing about QAnon, we ought to basically take the intelligence we're getting. Even if QAnon were a complete fantasy, it's created a whole movement around trying to understand these deeper issues. And that alone's been valuable. Well, you can't do that as a fantasy. Part of the proof that Q is real is it was effective in getting a movement of now maybe 10 to 30 million people to think through these issues that they never would have thought through before. I mean, who would dare post Hitler's daughter and have you talk about it? Who would dare post that the Antifa symbol is the same symbol as the, 1933 paramilitary wing of the Communist Party of Germany? How much more do you need to know before you figure out that QAnon, isn't some 13-year-old with his father's computer?
Amen to that.
And so you got a movement of some 20 or 30 million people getting red-pilled onto politics. If Q were a monkey with a keyboard, I'd endorse what he was writing.
I was telling someone I've never heard of the SES before the Q came
all
in.
These issues. I mean,
that's
all
valuable.
all the issues that he's prefiguring, Kenyatta and Odinga and Tillerson and Kenya, all that issue, all the stuff about the Chinese and is China going to be helpful? The meeting with however you say his name, Xi Jinping and Kim Jong-un that's going on. Probably not the first meeting. Trump may have already met with Kim Jong-un in the Forbidden City. We don't know. Wouldn't surprise me. Some suggested in these Q posts that he did.
Well, Doctor, the Gateway pundit 30 minutes ago just said Trump's tough talk on China works. China's premier pledges opening market to avert trade war.
Precisely. China's going to say, okay, look, you want us to have less of a surplus. Okay, if we reduce the surplus to near parity, where we're trading and buying as much as you're buying, and it's near parity, is that good enough for you? And Trump probably say, yeah, that'd probably work. We don't need to have a 30 billion advantage over you. We're not interested in doing the disservice to you that you did to us. We just want you to stop.
Make it fair.
China sits down and thinks about that and says that he just wants us to stop. Is that worth going to a trade war over? And, the more intelligent, more mature guys said, we've enjoyed this for a while. Why don't we stop? See what happens. Maybe you'll get another dummy in there like Obama. We can go back to it and have a field day again. But while this guy's in there, maybe we better behave.
We just have to keep him in there, Doctor.
No,
well, that's
no
the whole
unfair
point.
Advantage to be had here.
Yeah, that's the point, is that rather than debating what these AIM guys are doing, these AIM guys I think are, they lost their marbles over there. And the idea that we are not going to support Trump, we can still kick him in the butt. I can still kick him for saying, instead of, that stupid book on the election, you've already won the election. Why don't you get over, you want applause, let's applaud. Let's everybody applaud. You won the election, okay? Who cares? We're now worried about whether you're going to get impeached, dummy, or shot. So why don't we worry about those things now and forget about the election? Let's applaud some other books that are trying to warn you that, you better listen up and take this seriously. And, when it's your turn to make chess moves, move your queen in their face. See what they think about it. Well, you got their two bishops on a diagonal attack. See if that gives Marshall something to think about. Might want to look at those pieces, how they're lined up. And by the way, you won't mind if I move these couple pawns now, will you?
That's so good.
Yeah, I mean, this is, this is big stakes game, and I don't want Trump to lose, because Trump is, he's the best we possibly could have at this time. But he also needs to constantly pay attention to these people, because these people are devious, and they are evil. And, they are stupider than what they imagine they're going to be able to accomplish and get away with. But they're only stupid if you're playing the game smart. And that's the other part. When he says these people are stupid, it doesn't mean we can relax. It means that we play the game smart, we get to understand they're stupid.
Just like the Capablanca situation there with Marshall. Marshall had pretty much extended himself as far as he could. He was counting on Capablanca not seeing it and making a mistake, but that's the only way he could have lost.
See, in chess, 90% of chess at master's level is mechanical. You study the patterns so often that you know which moves are stronger than which moves are weaker, because you gamed out those sequences. When you see a pattern that you haven't seen before, You don't really know which is, where it's going or what's the strongest or the weakest response. Because truthfully in chess, you can only see a couple moves ahead. Masters don't see any moves ahead more than beginners. But where beginners see moves, masters see patterns. But if you've never seen the sequence before, you haven't had time to really map out all the patterns. So now you're playing by the seat of your pants. Well, Capablanca figured it out, and he made the right moves at the right time to parry what another move would have given Marshall, an advantage to checkmate. And that was the first part of the game. And Trump has played that now with Mueller. Now that's ending. You got to recognize it's ending. Now you got to look at how your pieces are arrayed, where your tactical strength is. And now you've got to move in with the strongest moves to kill. If you can end a chess game in 2 moves, why would you take 3? Waste of time. More elegant, more effective to win the game in 2 moves. So a good chess master doesn't waste 3 because some of them might happen in the 3rd move. You can do it in 2, you do it in 2. That's why the chess books say game to end in 5 moves. Well, they can say that because they know the patterns, what can be done, and they know that if it's played correctly, the advantage pressed, you can force the other player to make moves which position where you want to be so that it can take a minimum number of moves to force them into where you can checkmate. That's how you play chess. You don't play these games, it's like air combat. The Japanese are dirty fighters. They dive out of the sky, out of the sun. Any good combat fighter that lasted any length of time before they went into a fight looked at where the sun was. Figured out they couldn't get that advantage.
World War I air combat. Beware the Hun in the sun.
Right. So I think that's probably enough for right now, unless we get anything new. I've got another interview here at 6.
Keep pushing that book, Doctor.
Might as well. It's the only one I got out there now. Might as well.
Someone had a suggestion, Doctor. I know you're having a little bit of a question about unauthorized posting of your videos. If you have a whiteboard and you just put the current date that you put those out, it might stop some of that nonsense.
What I have is I ordered a little digital clock thing that's pretty like the size of a small computer screen. And I'm going to have it in the background behind me. So it ticks, you see the date and it ticks off the minutes.
Perfect.
So it's there through the whole video. So to get rid of it, you'd have to change the background.
That should do it. Thanks.
That should do it, I think. If I can do that and figure out how also to put on somewhere there a little sign that says this is where you go to see the ones I'm posting. That would be enough to do that, to defeat that whole issue pretty quickly.
Just a small little whiteboard, with the date.
Yeah, I mean, no, I want something that, this is a nice little clock. It'll look good behind me. Nobody will know when it's there unless you figure out what I'm doing. By the way, I'm going to post this now. There's a group of, they call it Joint Task Force MAGA, M-A-G-A, that is producing reports on abuses of national security monitoring programs by corrupt politicians. I just caught on to that this morning. I was going to watch the whole video. It's only 3 minutes long, but my day has been so chaotic I haven't had the 3 minutes. But I'll post it later on. I think it's worth watching. And
some more deep state shenanigans, it looks like.
But I like this fact that there's a group that's not a government group, but kind of a private watchdog group. I mean, it's where I think Tom Fitton's been so successful.
It's got Bill Binney in it.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, supposedly there's 100 of the FBI, CIA, NSA, ODNI group that have decided to come out of the woodwork and blow the whistle on the bad actors in their professions.
That might be good. I'm going to take a look at that. I kind of like the sound of that so far. And go ahead.
I was just wondering if you're going to bring Dr. Corsione to your other interview.
What is that?
You're in Corsione mode today.
Oh, that's right. Oh, Corsione. I might. It depends on what the radio is. Tomorrow night I'm going to be on Coast to Coast AM on the book. So George Norrie's going to interview me tomorrow night for a couple hours on the book, which ought to be really good. That should be really fun. He's a good interviewer, and we got him a hold of a copy of the book, so he should be doing pretty well with that. Okay, good. I'm going to sign off now, and we'll catch you all later. God bless.
Thank you, Dr. Corsi.
God bless you, too. Thanks for being here, sir.
Doctor.